Hi, I'm Emily, author of the XERUS Galaxy Saga, and I'm so glad that you've come back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I think you might want to consider independently publishing your novel. As I said, I'm Emily, and I have been both traditionally and independently published. And today we're going to talk about 5 different reasons why I think you might want to consider independently publishing. But I want for us to define those terms first because you'll see a lot of people talk about self-publishing and independently publishing, and it can get a little confusing. My good friend CJ Malacy defined it like this. When you're talking about self-publishing a novel, it sounds very much insular, solar. You're thinking about doing it yourself, you're putting everything out yourself, which is true. That is what happens when you independently publish. But saying independently publishing sounds a little more accurate to what really happens because you're not just doing everything by yourself, you're actually hiring a cover designer, you're hiring an editor, maybe you're hiring out some of your marketing, you're kind of building your own independent publishing company in order to put your book out. I'm going to use independently publishing as my term as we move forward, just so things are clear. The first reason why you might want to independently publish is maybe because you didn't get a traditional contract. So this is actually the case with me. I started off with this book. I started off with this book, Suspended in the Stars. I had written it on my blog in a month back in 2020, and then basically took a lot of time to finish it up, get it all ready and sparkling, and then my agent sent it out to a ton of traditional houses. We got a lot of rejections from that, though they were very kind. But basically, it kind of tossed the book back to me, and at that point, my agent couldn't really do anything with it, so we kind of let it sit, and then it was just always there at the back of my mind. So my friend CJ, I've mentioned her a lot, she actually ran a Kickstarter, and that gave me my first idea about maybe I could put this book out on Kickstarter. So I took the no from the traditional market and basically turned it into my own yes by taking it wide to Kickstarter, saying, hey, is there interest in this book? And then using those funds to put out a print run of both hardcovers and paperbacks so that I could get the book out to my readers. There is a caveat to this point though. Actually, there's probably one for every point I'm going to make today, mostly because there's certain things we have to consider when you're talking about putting a book out. And that is, the book still has to be good. So it's hard to know without talking to the specific person or reading their specific book, but if my book had been rejected because it was trash, then maybe the smartest choice is not just to turn around and say, well, I'm going to put it out anyways. Now, the fact is I had many people read through it. I had beta readers, I had alpha readers were reading it as I was blogging it. There was a lot of interest, a lot of people saying they would purchase the book if I put it out. And that kind of gave me the clue, okay, there is a market for this book. So maybe you have submitted your book out to publishers, you know that it's good, you know there's a market for it, and you're just not getting that no because a house can't get behind it. That's a perfect avenue then to take your book out and independently publish it yourself. Now, on the flip side, if you've sent it out and maybe you're getting a lot of negative feedback, a lot of revision suggestions, doesn't mean you can't take it independent, but it does mean that you need to clean it up first. Get a really good editor, make sure that that book is ready to go before you just turn around and independently publish it. The second reason why you might want to independently publish your book is basically you like control. I will say I am a bit of a perfectionist. I am also a cover designer. So I did design my book covers back here. You can see them. I work for independent authors. I work for publishing houses, and I am very meticulous. And it also means I'm pretty particular. So I knew that there were certain things in my book I didn't want to change. I knew the market that I wanted to market it to and how I wanted to market it. I had a lot of things in my mind before I decided to take it independent. And I think that that's a really good option, especially if you just like having control over things. You get to be the end-all decider on those things. The caveat to this point is that you still have to do your market research. Just because you like to be in control, maybe let's say you like a particular type of cover. Perhaps you like a very illustrated cover, but your book is maybe in a market that doesn't have a lot of illustrated covers. The reality is you might need to shift the things like your preferences to better match the market, and that is something that you just can't control because the whole point is selling your books. The third reason why you might want to take your book independent is you're entrepreneurial. And that is totally me. I have started many businesses. I used to be a wedding photographer, family portraits, everything photography related. And I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of shifted around. I did ghostwriting as my freelance job for a long time. And then now I've landed as an author and a graphic designer, and awesome job. Top tier. Recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend. But I'm entrepreneurial just by nature. So to me, going independent was kind of obvious. It's easy for me to understand the market of books because I've been part of that market for many, many years. And it was something where I knew enough people I could ask questions to. I knew how to research in order to find my market. I knew how to, get books out to printers because that's stuff that I do for my current job. So all of that was kind of lined up and it made a lot of sense. If you are like me and you have a good business sense and you understand these things, independently publishing might be perfect for you. A caveat to this one is that you will need to take on a lot. Now, you can definitely outsource if you've got the finances to be able to hire an assistant or, work with a coach or something like that. But you wear a lot of hats as an independent publisher because that's what you are. You're a publisher. So you are considering, what does the cover look like? Who am I going to have edit my book? Where am I going to get it printed? Am I going to do print on demand? I mean, there's just endless questions, and hopefully I'll get to a video where I can kind of describe how I went through those processes soon. If that's something that you want, make sure you pop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. But just know that there are a lot of basically a big checklist that you have to go through in order to independently publish. I should say, in order to independently publish well. So make sure you have those things kind of on the top of your mind before you make that choice. The fourth reason why you might want to independently publish your book was actually one of the reasons why I went indie with my books, and that is maybe you write in a unique genre. Ding, ding, ding. I write science fantasy in addition to other things, but I knew these books, the ones that you see behind me, were going to be in a unique market. There's not necessarily a shelf when you go to Barnes & Noble that says science fantasy. So that means you have to make the decision, well, does it go into science fiction? Does it go into fantasy? Is it just young adult? All of those different things. I'm not the one making that decision, but it is something you have to think about before you publish your book. So for me, I knew young adult science fantasy was going to be my main category, but I had to decide, how am I going to pitch this book? I landed on The Greatest Showman meets Star Wars about a circus in space. And to me, that was a very easy concept for people to understand when I share that, especially when I'm selling books in person. People click with that and they understand it immediately because I'm saying immediately it's spacey, the circus in space, but then I'm also talking about a girl and a boy, and there's a deeper conversation that goes on, obviously, about more of what's in the book, but getting that high concept out there is really helpful. But what happened is that when I took that to a traditional house, they didn't really know what to do with it. At that point, that would have been a debut for me. Even though I've been published traditionally in the adult categories, young adult was my debut. And for them to take on a book that is, first of all, has science fiction in the title is a little scary because sci-fi sells not great in the traditional market. But then also to have it mixed with fantasy kind of makes them be like, well, where do we put this? What are we going to do with it? Enter independently publishing. For me, it was totally the right choice, and I was able to find my audience, cultivate them, and bring them into my universe, if I can call it that. It was really easy for me to be able to describe to them what my book was about and to worry less about the science fantasy term and more about what the book is actually focused on. The reality is you have to be able to market your book to your reader. So if you're writing about murder bunnies in space, you can pitch that, but you have to think, okay, it's not going to be an easy sell necessarily, so you still need to be able to find your audience. What books are they reading that you can liken your book to? What other concepts will they understand that's within your novel? Something for them to latch onto. So yes, you can take weird genres and do whatever you want with them, but you need to be able to market your book effectively. And the fifth reason why you might want to become independently published is you don't want to go traditional. I support that. The reality is, the longer that I'm independently published, the more I enjoy it. The fact is I love having control over my schedule. I love being able to say, this is the next book I'm going to publish, and I'm going to do it on my timeline. I'm not going to wait a year and a half for a traditional house to go through all of the things that they need to. Now, I understand why traditional houses take as long as they do to get books out. Completely makes sense to me, especially as I'm someone who's part of that process as a cover designer. I actually don't want them to do it faster because I don't have time to keep up. But as an indie author, I love the fact that I can take my book ideas, kind of ask my audience, hey, are you interested in this? And then if they say yes, there you go, I'm going to do it. You do still have to do all the research. You do still have to know your market. You do still have to do like all the things that are involved with being a publisher, but those things can be really rewarding. My last piece of advice, if you do decide to go independent, would be to make sure that you surround yourself with helpful people. And obviously you're not surrounding yourself to like use those people, but have them in your corner so that they can help you. Have people who are a little further ahead on the road of independently publishing to kind of guide you in the way that you need to go. Thanks so much for coming back to the channel. If you haven't yet, would you take a moment to like this video and then subscribe below? I honestly love connecting with you guys. I've had so much fun on my recent videos, just chatting in the comments, and I'm really here for it. But I do have a few questions for you. If you're published, what route did you take? Did you go indie? Did you go traditional? And why did you pick that route? Secondly, if you're pre-published, as I like to say, so that means you're a writer, you want to be published, but you're not quite there yet, which route are you taking? Are you going to go traditional? Are you going to go indie? Or are you going to try one and then go to the other? What do you think you'd want to do? I honestly do respect both paths. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I did used to think I'd only be legit if I was traditionally published, but honestly, the more I go, the more I'm really loving indie, so we'll see what happens with my future books. As I like to say, go boldly and write, my friends.